Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode. You've got myself, Gary, and we have Fernando with us tonight. We have a couple of very special guests. That would be Lala Bright and her boyfriend, Bob McGwier. Now, Lala Bright is a UFO experiencer and an abductee, as well as a remote viewer and a psychic. And her boyfriend, Bob, is an Intelligence Operative with several of the lettered organizations that we all know and love. And they have some very, very interesting stories that they want to share with us tonight. And it is going to be an absolutely ripper episode. So we will jump straight into it. And without any more waiting, I would like to welcome them all to the show. Hey guys, so we have Lala and Bob with us. Hello guys, how are you?
Very good.
Good, thank you.
That's good. We have the understanding that there's quite a story to tell from the two of you, and I don't really know where to start. I think we might start with Lala, and obviously with the alien abductee status. Do you want to tell us how it first actually happened?
First time I noticed our memories of them, I was probably under 5 years old, and I would frequently, for years, have dreams of me in the backyard at night looking up, and I'd see a bunch of UFOs or crafts fly over me slowly, until a couple of years later my dad was watching an alien movie and they were on the movie, and I go, I know what those are, I dream of them all the time. And so I would see weird things in the sky, but for some reason what they would do to me is numb me so that I didn't research it, I didn't talk about it. It just kind of happened to me. My dad was an abductee also. We had experience together.
Wow.
I have a lot of missing time, implant. So it's been since I was tiny. And it's still continuing. And I'm 42, so it's a lifelong thing.
Oh yeah, she's been abducted countless times.
Have you ever been witness to an abduction, or is it just something she comes back the next morning kind of thing and it's like, I think it's happened?
The one and only time that I am aware of, there are two kind of, there's one missing time event and one event where I was suppressed from waking up. So she said, oh, I have this weird bruise on my arm. And that was the morning that I woke up 2 to 2.5 hours later than I normally do.
Wow.
So that's when we looked at cameras and saw that something had come through the door into the house, and that she had this bruise on her arm, and then I noticed that I had slept too long. And then another time, she and I were on the deck out back, and we suddenly had several minutes of missing time. How do we know this? The security camera recorded an overflight of us where we were talking before, talking after, silent while this helicopter flew over us, and we don't have any memory of the helicopter.
Interesting. Is that the camera that you post stuff quite regularly on your Facebook?
Every day we take stuff from these cameras.
We have one in front of the house outside, one in the back outside, and then one in our bedroom and one in the kitchen. And
house is full of orbs.
They visit the neighbors, they light up their roof. They're very active around here. We've seen portals. We've got that on video, a portal opening up.
Oh wow.
Yeah, two nights ago she got two entities standing on the neighbor's roof, kind of sitting back, kicked back, looking over at our place.
Mm-hmm.
It actually gives you goosebumps to think that they could quite easily, and I will not use the word unnoticed, but they seem to have free reign to go wherever they want. You know, do the government actually know they're around? And I know these are a few questions that, Bob, we're going to be asking you a bit later, and I can almost guarantee the answer is going to be no comment, but we will ask those later on. But yeah, going back, Lala, to your experiences, do you know how long, or do you have an idea how long an experience would generally last, or is it just a case of you got no idea because of the missing time and just waking up?
A few hours. My son's father, I would go out to get milk or something at the corner store, which is 3 minutes away from our house was. And I'd be gone for like 3 hours, not knowing. And he'd be like, well, what's going on? And it would happen frequently. And I was so confused, I didn't understand what he was upset about. So, and for other instances, when I think it was all night, because I really don't remember anything. I just remember waking up in my bed magically and it's the next day. When I was at night in my car. It's just weird.
So from that, I would say that these abductions, they're not always from your home. They can be from anywhere.
Anywhere. Really.
Oh, yeah, she's been out driving with a friend and had multiple missing time events with the friend who has no memory of it.
Oh, can I tell you that one real quick?
Yeah,
That's my coolest one.
Go for
Okay.
it.
Oh, please.
We were sitting at Dunkin' Donuts drinking coffee, and these red fireballs were going over the car, a little bit up, not super close, but it made us nervous after a while. So we decided to go home. I get on the road, and it's nighttime. There's this huge cloud in front of us, and a black helicopter flew over and put its spotlight on the cloud. And I saw inside the cloud, it was being cloaked, was this huge ship, like a football field big. And I remember looking up at it, and the bottom looked like pipes intertwining with each other, and the pipes were as wide as the body of the helicopter. And when we drove under it, there was no longer any sky. It was just under the craft. That's how big this thing was. We couldn't see the night sky anymore. And then she doesn't remember anything. I don't remember taking her home, nothing. But I remember that.
What's interesting is that there was a black helicopter there, because anybody that watches this podcast,
took her right out of my mouth. You took her right out of my mouth.
They know what the black helicopter usually signifies. And Bob, can you fill us in?
Yeah, she was near multiple military bases.
Yeah.
Multiple.
And that also ties into UFO things, because UFOs usually hang out near military installations. Or it's a common theme.
Yes, they do.
I mean,
well, the first time we saw a UFO together, she was driving her car. We were coming back from dinner. We were coming down a 4-lane U.S. highway, and I looked through the sunroof and saw a triangle. And the road is a little bit winding, but the triangle stayed in the center of the sunroof. So I knew it was following us because it did not deviate from the road as we were meandering. And so soon one of these helicopters came out, and it was flying along us, and it turned around quickly and took off. She did a U-turn, and 15 seconds after she did, 15 seconds for her to do the U-turn, we were turned around. It was gone. The helicopter was still there, but it was gone.
I mean, I would like to.
We've seen multiple triangles. In fact, she got one last night in the clouds, because it were in the low clouds because we had a snowstorm. But you could see the triangle in the cloud, the 3 lights in the sky.
So will that be going up on your Facebook later today?
It's already up.
It's already up.
The video and the still from the triangle.
Must have checked that
I
out.
became your friend, so I'm about to see all of it.
Okay, good. And
But
lit up the roofs, the neighbor's roof, so that's what they were doing.
This is really brightly lit up.
We keep cutting them off. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, please. No, I actually have a curious question. Something that I've been. I mean, obviously, for years, for as long as I can remember, as far as aliens, and UFOs and all of this, I've always wondered. And since you, Bob, have worked for the federal agency, I was always curious why. I mean, besides the obvious, it is military grounds, but why do you think they are interested so far as being specifically over, let's say the Pentagon, let's say military areas? What is your opinion on that?
Okay, so the all of our military bases are protected by electronic surveillance equipment, and they may be testing the ability of the electronic surveillance equipment to test them. That's one. they're very frequently found wherever we have nuclear energy going on or a nuclear weapon. They come over those things all the time. And we live near Aberdeen Proving Grounds, which is right in the middle of an urban area, and that's where they fire artillery shells and other thing like it to test them to make sure everything's working, or test new weapons. And it rumbles the house here about once a week. Wow. So there's lots of stuff like that, and they're checking it out.
Wow.
Yeah,
wow.
That's just stumped me that they would test weapons and things so close to a residential area.
Oh yeah, it's like 8 or 9 miles from here, and it shakes the house every time they do it.
I think they do testing and other alien stuff there, because when I drove in Georgia, a guy at a hotel that worked there used to work there but retired, and they were testing something at the base near my old house. They were testing something. It gave him and his wife cancer. His wife passed, but he survived and retired. But he said there's a man-made island behind that base, and it aligns with a certain star. And he winked at me, and I was like, all right, he can't tell me, but something's going on. And then years later, I saw a huge white orb follow a plane that was coming in the base to land, and a helicopter behind it. And then another year later, a bunch of white orbs were by the base, but in the road that we would travel, and a helicopter was following it with this weird machine. Looked like machine gun, but like stapled into the helicopter, but it wasn't. And the helicopter got so close that it pushed my car off the road. It was awesome.
Oh, that's almost right above it.
She goes, it was awesome.
The helicopter flew illegally low over a 4-lane highway and blew her off the road with its rotor wash.
Yeah.
See, knowing about rotor wash and what have you, to actually blow a car off, it had to have almost had its wheels on your roof. It must have been that low.
And it turned the transmission and these things like vertical. They were determined to blow her off the road.
I was also following them for an hour, which
she left that part out.
I just want to acknowledge that she thought it was awesome getting blown off the road.
Well, look how much fun she has telling the story.
Well, you've got, when life throws these kind of experiences at you, you go one or two ways. You can be scared and live your life in terror, or you can embrace it and enjoy what comes from it. And I don't know how I would go if a helicopter flew that low over me and actually blew my car off the road. I'd probably have my camera out and see if I could get all that on film. But that was leading what you were saying before about how you were seeing these orbs of light landing with a helicopter close by. Do you think some of these could be actual man-made UFOs that are testing, or do you believe that they are alien based, or is there some sort of a hybrid kind of coalition happening between humans and intergalactic species on Earth?
I think it's a mixture. I know I have a friend that works with the government, and he told me that they even make portals. The government makes portals. They make crafts. So it might have been, but I think the ones that they were trying to catch weren't man-made because they couldn't control it.
Yeah.
So I think
some of the things we have in our collection of pictures, I've determined that they're many kilometers wide. Just hard for me to believe that they are made by humans, but I don't know. So I think it's a mixture. And Melinda Leslie is an extremely famous experiencer, and she lives in the Southwest U.S. in Arizona, and she is now seeing mixtures of military and UFO flying out of an underground military base nightly near her home. So they're working together there.
Where is that? Where is that? We want to know where this hidden underground
Sedona,
base is.
Arizona.
yeah.
I've heard Sedona we've mentioned before.
Yeah.
So I have a question as far as probably a lot of the viewers within my mind space, but this is the second time I've heard you guys refer to experiencers. So what is the difference between an experiencer and, for example, what makes you not an experiencer, Lala?
We are.
We are anybody who has seen a craft or something that wasn't a spirit or a ghost is an experiencer. You don't. An abductee is someone who was tampered with or
An
visited.
abductee
Taken
is
away,
one
yeah.
class of experiencer,
Right.
but somebody who sees a UFO is an experiencer. Somebody who sits in their backyard and meditates and says, "Come see me," and then they come, that's an experiencer. They're all people that have experienced some weird anomalous phenomena.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's experiencer and abductee.
Well,
But
it
an
goes.
abductee is one kind of experiencer. There are
Fernando,
lots of kinds of
it goes
experiencers.
back to the old closely the CE1, CE2, CE3, CE4, CE5. So CE3 is when you see the well, hang on. The first one is when you see something in the sky.
Classes.
Well, yeah. So when the first one is when you see something in the sky. The second one is when you see a craft actually landed on the ground. The third one is when you see the occupants of the vehicle around. So, they've come out and they're checking the ground. The fourth kind is abduction, where you're actually taking aboard a craft for some reason. And CE5, which Steve Greer is big into, is where you use meditations and use psychic thoughts and you put them out into the universe and actually invite them to come. So they're the 5 different types. And
And J. Allen Hynek made up this classification.
yes, yeah, it's interesting, and it puts everybody in a certain little pigeonhole, although several people can witness multiple versions at once. Now, Bob, former intelligence operative for many different parts of the American government. I know you're not going to be able to say a lot, but can you acknowledge that there are certain things that are of interest to us that are actually happening around?
Oh, well, we know that because the U.S. government has admitted it. So the U.S. government has admitted that the Tic Tac and Go Fast and those are actual unidentified aerial phenomena. They're actual UFOs. So the government admitted that.
Yeah.
But I went out. I've been out on naval vessels, and the 2 naval vessels I went out on, I saw a craft in one of them and heard a craft in the other.
Wow.
And the heard was because I was underwater.
So you're talking like a sonar ping or whatever?
It was going so fast. It could have been heard miles away, but we heard it because it was loud.
So do you
And,
actually
we were deep.
do you actually think they actually have underwater bases here on Earth?
Oh, yeah,
I think so. Yeah,
definitely.
it's the perfect place to hide.
Oh yeah.
In the water, for sure.
Well, 70% of the planet's covered by water, and we can only do certain parts at a time. You know what I mean? And there's still places that deep that we haven't been down to.
So, Bob, when you say that the U.S. Admitted that aliens are real, it was during a couple of months back when Ryan Graves, David Grush,
Oh, that big.
and David Fravor came out talking about it.
Right. Yes. So Grush says we've gotten crashed craft and we've talked to ET and so forth and so on, but the government has not issued an official statement supporting him. What they did do was allow him to say all those things in public
On national television, yes.
Yeah.
on national television.
It's funny how you use the word allowed there as well. I know.
He had to ask permission. He did what's called a DOPSR. That's a standard procedure if you want to say something in public and you hold a security clearance. It's called the DOPSR process. He went through the DOPSR process, and everything he said in the interviews and everything he said to Congress was pre-approved by the Department of Defense.
Oh man, I mean, okay. I mean, because that just opens up a whole freaking so many questions. I mean, it was just a little bit, I guess you could say, controversial, the timing of, admitting aliens are real to the public.
No. You're saying it wrong. They have not admitted aliens.
Correct.
They have admitted unidentified aerial phenomenon that they have no idea where they come from, which my opinion is, and my belief is, a bald-faced lie.
Oh yes, definitely. I mean,
So
they're framing it.
They send people out to say that who are ignorant.
Yeah.
They don't let the people who know the truth talk.
They're framing it in such a way by unidentified aircraft that it could be from China, it could be the Russians, it could be anybody else. They haven't admitted that they've come from above. Even though you look at the Tic Tac and you look at the gimbal footage and some of the maneuvers that those things were doing and the G-forces involved in some of those acceleration maneuvers, they just leave a person as a stain on the back wall. So that is something they haven't covered off in the statement.
They've called them all sorts of things, but the bottom line is they're aliens.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, I think we're gonna have to Photoshop Lala into this because I there's no way you could cut this off.
Oh, again, I can do a little bit of edit. I can edit it. So.
Yeah. I mean, I just found it kind of, suspicious with so much going on in the U.S. and then all of a sudden, boom, they're like putting out there about, and then the fact that you said that they actually. These gentlemen had to go through a process to be approved to talk about it. It's just, it feels like there's a lot of red tape they had to go through. And it feels like a lot of that red tape was actually, you know what, go ahead and talk. We need to cover something up.
Yeah. And I mean, I remember doing an interview with Stephen Bassett probably 10, 12 years ago. Now he started the Paradigm Research organization. It's all about getting disclosure, and I remember asking him way back then, what did he think the disclosure event would look like? Would it be one statement by the president and have a flying saucer land on the lawn? No. Or would it be just a series of small events that added up to a big picture? Because what the main issue about now revealing the truth is that to do that, they have to acknowledge to the American people and the world that they've been lying for at least the last 70 years. And that's a big thing.
Longer.
Oh, I'm assuming, yeah.
Longer. Yeah, we got a craft from Italy that landed over there in the 1930s.
Wow. Actually, I've got a question for you as a former intelligence operative. Have you ever heard of the Westall incident in Melbourne, Australia?
Yes.
Because in that, there were actually American servicemen that were interviewing the witnesses, and
without any legal authorization to do so. Yes. Yeah. I really dislike the fact that they went off and ordered all those kids to forget everything they saw.
But it's not working. They're all coming out now, and even like they're all miles apart, worlds apart where they're living and everything now. When they draw their pictures of what they saw, they're all still almost identical. Yeah.
Yep.
And that leads me to another thing. This is going to sound like a little bit of a roast and everything, but you've heard of Rendlesham Forest in the UK? Again, yes. That was right near a US base, or it was an English base, but it was leased by the Americans, so it was American personnel that were there.
We have bunkers full of nuclear weapons there. They were very interested in the nuclear weapons.
Yeah. See, they never told us about that when I lived in England. And it's funny because, like I said, when I had my experience as a child, I actually lived in the northeast of England. So, I mean, Rendlesham's a lot further down, but it's just interesting that I guess everybody says, why is it the Americans? It's not always the Americans, they happen all around the world, and there's this whole big thing about who's going to be the first to actually fully disclose. Is it going to be the French? Is it going to be China? Is it going to be the US? That remains a mystery, as in straight out statement, but America is making slow little bites out of it as it goes, you know what I mean? And they're admitting that there are things in the skies that they can't identify, but then you look back and you say, well, if you're not interested, what happened to Majestic 12, Project Blue Book, all these other, and there's a lot of other names as well. Obviously they had the ATIP program. I'm twiddling my fingers here because I want to ask Bob, have you ever been involved in any operations that, I know you can't go into details, but have been involved around unidentified craft or something of a more supernatural nature?
I have never been involved in crash retrievals or dealing with aliens. I've seen UFOs while I've been working for the government. I saw them naval vessels and I saw them in other places, but it was not part of my work. So it just happened to see them.
When you say see them, do you mean just in the air, or do you mean actually landed on a ship or on a base?
The one over my ship was over my ship. The one near the sub was underwater. And the ones that I saw in the air were just flying around while I was doing other things for the U.S. government. So this is not uncommon. I am given to understand that I now believe, I talked to a recently famous admiral who has now identified himself as being involved in the UAP phenomenon, who said, and he agreed with me, that every time a naval vessel goes into blue water, they see something.
Well, it's like I've got a friend whose dad, he works for the traffic control at the Perth International Airport here in WA, and he said the amount of things that they pick up on radar which aren't identified as an aircraft, he goes, it's almost a nightly thing, but we never hear about it. You know, we never see this information or hear the details about it all. And the fact that
where do we put all our submarines, or give you all those submarines in Perth, then you're going to see plenty.
They just announced on our news here the other day that literally not even 10 kilometers from where I am is going to be the new base for the there's already a naval base there anyway at Garden Island, but it's going to be the new home for some of these. Is it the Collins class, or I'm not sure what the new ones are called that we're getting? Virginia. Oh yeah, they're old for you, but they're new for us.
No. I mean, Australia has never been allowed to have a U.S. built and designed nuclear sub, and now you're part of our Navy holding China back. Yeah,
because we've got a lot of seas down here. But anyway, I don't think we should talk much more about that one. But
okay. So let's drive back to Lala, because I'm very interested about something. So what would be your most, I mean, because if you've been getting abducted since the age of 5?
Earlier.
So what would be your most profound, something that you could, actually remember, your most, I'm going to categorize your most traumatizing experience.
Okay.
Go ahead. Yeah, if they won't do it, they can edit it out.
Well, I didn't know.
Oh man, this is gonna be good, Gary. This is gonna be good.
I didn't know what it was at the time. This happened maybe 2 years ago, but he told me it was a reptilian, and they do this quite a bit to people. I was sleeping. Nobody was in the house. I woke up to something being what can I say? How do I say it?
Inappropriate.
Very extremely. Everything was going. It was very real what was going on. I felt everything. My legs were closed. I didn't understand how that could happen. Nobody was there. Nothing was there while this was happening, and I was frozen. And then it stopped after like a minute, probably less than a minute, and it didn't happen again. But I never told anybody that happened until I met Bob, and he said reptilians do sexual things with people, and they do hybridization with people. So this is a common thing. But I tell you what, it felt real. it blew my mind. It's just, if I can take my emotions out of it, it's something I never thought could really happen. Like in the movies. It was like in the movies, really.
It's interesting how you bring the reptilians up, because I watched this, I don't even know what you would call it, but they refer to the reptilian race as the Draconians now. I don't know if you've heard about this in the Kuiper Belt and stuff like that. And what they're saying is anything outside the Kuiper Belt, the Draconian Empire, whatever you want to call them, they control it, and they don't want us going out there. They're just leaving us to do our own thing in the solar system. But once we go past, I think it's Pluto or something like that, then we're in their territory and they don't like it. But every now and then you hear stories about them, which means they do come in and they come visiting and do their own thing. And what you were just saying there just seems like they literally just do what they want to do, and they don't care about any kind of a consequence because it's not going to be an issue to them.
Well, that story is just a little bit troubling. So if they, in the sense that if they don't want anything we do to go out that far, that's already been violated, because the Pioneer spacecraft and the Voyager spacecraft are well outside the Kuiper belts.
But they didn't have people on board.
I don't know, maybe they mean living humans.
Yes, I think that's where they're talking about. I heard some other stories in this whole thing as well, which I don't know. Some of it actually rang real to me, and then other parts of it sounded totally out there. And I guess a lot of it does sound totally out there. But when I had my experience after that, I started having these dreams. I call them dreams, that I was part of some sort of, even as a kid, some sort of a fleet or a group where you get trained up and you do things, and then you're sent back at the end of the night in your dream thing, but you sort of, through your sleep mode, you're actually assisting what goes on out there. Now, when I heard this story, somebody experienced the exact same thing, but they train you up and they train your psychic abilities up, and you have to give them a 20-year commitment. But at the end of the 20-year commitment, you're sent right back into your body at the moment where it first started. So it's like time hasn't passed, and it's like a giant dream, and bits start cracking out through that. And it's this concept that actually blows me away. But I've experienced something similar, and I just put it down to a vivid imagination because of the life that I've actually lived. But have you ever actually experienced anything like that, Lala?
Yeah, I was like astral projection.
Mm-hmm.
Well, first of all, I have a lot of visitation dreams. That's where you do go out into the astral world and speak to spirits or other beings. But I know that we're being taught. Well, I've always done remote viewing, but I didn't know I was doing it. And now with Bob, we get taught by Simeon Hines, who was taught by Ingo Swann, was a huge remote
There's a big
viewer.
name, yep.
How to do it more, what's a good way to put it? We were taught how to do it, write down certain things.
With a regular we got taught by Simeon how to do resonant or coordinate remote viewing.
Yeah.
Tell you, like I said, Lala doesn't need to do any of that. She just sits down and decides to do it, and boom, she's doing it.
Yes, I didn't really have control over it. So yeah, I have done it. I just didn't know I was doing it.
We found if she draws her rights, it works better.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And my next question is along the same line, and that's where I was heading with this whole thing about this dream notion. With your psychic abilities and your remote viewing, did they come after you started experiencing? I'm assuming it probably did, but whether do you feel it might have been associated, or whether it was something separate?
I think I've always been born with it. My dad was psychic, and he did Reiki. Well, he called it healing of the hands. And did I tell you about my neighbor, Grandma Cheyenne?
Nope, not yet.
Okay. When I was 5, she passed away, and my parents, we couldn't go to the funeral, but we went to go find her grave. And in Baltimore, the grave is over 1,000.
10,000
It's
graves.
tons of them. And so they're walking around trying to find her, and I heard her in my ear say, "I'm over here," and I was led to her grave, and I put my hand on it. And I told my parents, and my dad knew it was time to start gently talking to me about what we are. but I think it's in our bloodline, kind of. I think that's why I have an implant in my leg. Maybe there's something different about us that they're
Interested.
keeping track of.
Yeah.
I mean, you did mention that you and your father have been experiencing abductions. So, what would be his, his experiences? I mean, obviously he's older than you. So, has he been experiencing this for years before you was even born?
Well, my parents passed a few years ago, but he
Sorry to
loved.
hear that.
It's okay, thank you. He loved talking about ghosts and all kinds of other stuff, but when it came to aliens, he got nervous about it. I remember him telling me that he said when he would take the dog out to walk, sometimes they would fly over and follow him. And I believed him. He didn't lie about anything like that. And I think it scared him very much. So
Tell them about the experience in Florida.
I went to go visit my parents in Florida, and I was taking the trash out with my dad at night, and I looked up over their house, and over the roof there were 5 huge orange orbs, and they went into a shape of a V. And I said, "Dad, do you see this?" He looks right at him. He says no robotically. He turns robotically, goes within the house, which was unlike him because we were best friends. He wouldn't have left me like that, And I look back up at the orange orbs, and one at a time they go away. And I don't remember the rest of the night. I don't remember the trash, anything, and we never talked about it at all.
That's interesting because what you described is very much like what was witnessed in the Phoenix Lights incident.
I mean, we've been talking for a good half hour, and this specific story just gave me the goosebumps. I don't know why. Wow.
So my first major orb experience was Christopher Bledsoe. I went to visit him in North Carolina, and he quote got permission from whatever it is to come and visit. We went outside, looked at the sky, and we saw these 40-foot diameter orbs, 2 of them fly over us. And after that, whatever the phenomenon is followed me home, and I've had experiences since then. But it began to reawaken memories in me of having, when I was 1 year old, I had cerebral meningitis, and I had 3 cardiac arrests. So before I had any memory, I had NDEs. And then when I was 3, I woke up one morning and could read like I was in high school, 3 years old. When I was 10, I woke up one day and I could do math, build telescopes, got an amateur radio license, all of this stuff. And then I kept doing that all the way through high school. And in high school, and I memorized Grey's Anatomy from cover to cover at 10 years old. So my family thought I was going to be a doctor, but I went to school, took my girlfriend at the time. We were both from the same town. We went to the same university, picked her up on a Friday, drove home. And on the way home, we experienced an hour and a half of missing time. And within 2 weeks, I had changed universities and changed majors to what I am today. So that feels to me like I was taught by them and guided by them and led by them to do what I'm doing.
So what's interesting?
And then I forgot all about it for 40 years.
I was just about to say, what's interesting about that is, so what we get from that is you were an experiencer before you met Lala, and then her story and the 2 of you have come together. What makes, it makes you think, was this sort of a program predetermined thing because you guys are going to do something?
We are sure of it. We've had regressions that tell us that's true.
Wow.
Well, I met him, like I said, a few years ago. I lost my parents and also my son's father, my boyfriend at the time. And I didn't have anybody to talk to or anybody to help, so I decided to start doing my psychic readings again to help others because I hid from it most of my life. It scared me. And I would go to bed listening to SOR.
Spaced Out Radio.
And because it was like from midnight to 3, so I'd fall asleep listening to it. And all of a sudden, he was a guest on it, and I didn't know who he was, but I got that usual push from spirit to, you need to give this man a reading. And I did the usual, like, hi, I know this sounds weird, but I have a message for you, you know. And when I gave him the reading, he, I guess, impressed him, and then he tested me to make sure I was real. And then we did friendship, business, and now we live together, and it's crazy, you know.
She read my deceased mother shortly after she passed, and my grandmother came through at the same time, and she says, I can barely understand this woman. Her southern accent is so thick I can't make out if it's English or not. She says, but she keeps saying this word, and she's insisting. She's like jumping up and down saying this word. And I says, well, what's the word? And she said, Tweety. So when I was 1, and we moved from where I had the NDEs to live in Alabama, my father worked for his parents, and she called me Sweetie. I couldn't say it, so I called her Tweety.
Oh,
so she was trying
to
to identify herself to Lala as Tweety, so she could. And then Lala says she's about 5'2", feisty, and she has a poodle in her arms. My grandmother was a poodle breeder. She had her favorite poodle she carried in her arms at all time, named Pierre. So that was when I knew Lala was the real deal.
Wow.
So we began talking about other paranormal, anomalous things, and I realized that she was an abductee and had had many UFO experiences. And then we got interested, and just we fell in together, and now we live together.
You were so impressed, you kept her.
I mean, further down this, this whole podcast, I was gonna ask how you guys met. Thank you for sharing. I think Gary has to edit because my mouth keeps on staying open. Like,
well, let me tell you how we know we're supposed to be doing this. So we're on the back deck. We go out there and we take pictures and photos and videos all the time with handheld cameras. I have a Psionics Opsin low light level camera. I've got plenty of craft on that. And she likes to take my big Canon flash camera and shoot and get stuff. Get orbs all the time. So she says, she picked up the camera. She didn't aim at the sky. She aimed it across the backyard and goes click. And we opened up the viewport and looked at the picture. And this is in our evidence. You can go look at it. It looks like this bluish smoke, and inside this bluish smoke is a gray alien face. And that picture was six feet in front of us. Mm-hmm. That's where the being was standing.
We post everything on Facebook for people to save the videos and pictures. So
go look for the gray alien in the blue smoke. That picture that she took that with my Canon camera on our back deck, and the thing was 6 feet in front of us.
Ooh, and what's cool too is that I like to do, the flash on the camera. His is a fancy camera, so it flashes really far.
Yeah.
I'll flash. Something flashes us back.
Oh yeah.
And then if we don't go out on one night, we'll miss a night, it'll flash us while we're in the house, and it'll trigger the motion sensor video thing, and that's how I'll see, we have to go outside.
And so these flashes, she zooms them and I process them, and that if you go look at our stuff, that flash is always a craft. So you can go look at all those craft pictures in our stuff. Every one of them it flashed into existence and then flashed right back out.
So I just want to so all of this is under Lala Bright Facebook
or Bob McGwier.
But it's a shared album.
We share it.
But it's okay. It's all right. You can go in there, and all of these hundreds of pieces of evidence now are free.
You're getting
for
two
anybody
new
to
friends
see.
on Facebook.
That's okay. That's fine. I don't care.
I'll be adding you as well.
I'm already going all into it.
The album is called Photos from Our Cameras.
Yeah, one looked like a really huge rib cage. It was crazy. And I said, can you come back again? I want to learn about you. It came back 2 more times at a different angle.
Yeah,
but
so
it was the same
thing was like this. You can see it. It's just like this. It looks like a rib cage. And then 2 weeks later, it came back oriented like that, like I just turned my hand this way. But it was easy to tell it was the same craft that came back 2 weeks later.
It kind of looked like a rib cage slash the Black Knight satellite. That's not a satellite, it's a craft. It was a mixture of both. It was cool.
I showed those pictures to the deputy director of the United States Space Force, and I was having lunch with him with my cousin Linda Thompson, who's a MUFON investigator, and she said you should have seen the look on his face, and he fell all over himself, giving me his address, so that that's the ribcage spacecraft.
2 different nights, same craft, 2 different occasions.
You can see the 2 different angles as well.
So that's in that folder, as is the blue-faced alien.
Sorry, we get excited.
We do. It's exciting. So we see so now you'll see these little dot-looking craft where it's very bright in the center, and you'll see maybe a dozen or more of those in that folder. There's one that's absolutely, completely resolved, crystal clear, and she's reached out with this and says, "Oh, this thing is alive, and it's here doing surveillance on us."
Alive?
Wow.
So you're
Alive.
talking like sentient craft. Oh, that's like Star Trek level stuff. That. Oh man.
They listen. Anybody can talk to them if you talk from your heart, and they'll know you have good intentions, and eventually they will come. They started out as little dots in the sky, and then every few months they'd get closer and closer.
Mm-hmm. Now we're gonna have to go in a minute, but what I want to ask Lala firstly is, what do you think their intentions are towards the human race? Do you feel they're friendly and waiting for us to reach a certain level before communication, or do you think there might be a little bit more meanness to it?
Okay, it's like humans. There are some that are good, there are some that are bad or don't have good intentions. I know that they're here to help us, and we're supposed to be helping them. We're still figuring that out by communicating with them for more details. I personally think that there's something blocking them from coming and helping us and interfering in a good way. I think there's something they have to, like a law they have to abide by. I don't know, because if they could come and help, they would. So they're doing soft disclosures with different people all around the world to try to get whatever.
Get the message
there's
out.
something coming major in a few years. I just don't know what it is, but I feel it.
Yep.
That is so interesting.
A bunch of experiencers say something's coming.
I'm sorry, but
I've got so many questions. I've got so many things going in my head that I can't put anything to the front.
and I can't believe that an hour passed already. This is crazy. We've witnessed some lost time right now because this is crazy. We're gonna have to do a part 2.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's fine with us. We don't care. We actually enjoy doing this. And so the last thing we should do is probably end this way. I wondered if they would ever tell her, but she's the one with the abilities, what we were doing. So she took the blue-faced picture and smoke, and the next night they talked to her.
Yeah.
It sounded like, you know how bees, you hear a whole bunch of them? It sounded like that hive thing. It went around, and then it was one voice after a while, and it said how we have pretty much saying, kind of knock off the bull crap, do what you're supposed to be doing. We're here for a mission to help them, and they'll help us in return. Because ego gets in the way with humans. So move past that and really.
And we're to aid in soft disclosure.
Yeah. Yep.
I think it's everybody that experiences. I do believe that they should share their experiences. There are so many people that are embarrassed or scared of what the reactions might be, so they just stay quiet. And some of these people could have that, that linchpin of information that could validate so many other people's experiences and really move this forward.
Well,
myself,
our story is so weird, and there's so much stuff going on, and we have all this evidence, but we are not ashamed to tell the story. I think that's what they were after. Was us not be ashamed to go tell the story.
but what's
I don't think it's about being ashamed. I think you guys are brave
yeah,
for sure, hands down.
and
Especially you, Bob, because you've worked for the U.S. government. So at the back of my head, I'm like, are you supposed to be saying this?
No, I was asked multiple times by different entities to come back to work and work on things like Havana syndrome and other things, and whoever is control of my clearance refused to pass it, so I could not use my clearance until it expired. My expiration retirement from my security clearance was forced and involuntary.
Oh,
whoa.
wow. Would you want to go back?
They are not happy with me talking.
That's what I was just about to say.
Would you want to go back?
Well, yeah, I would go back because I'm good at what I did. I got all sorts of awards and other stuff.
Did you see that orb?
Yeah, we had an orb just fly
went
by. I don't know whether you got it on camera or not.
Hopefully.
I wonder if it looked like a bee that flew by the camera.
Yeah, that happens almost every time we get on camera.
So I actually saw it like in the corner of my eye, but once you started talking, I just started focusing on you, and it looked like a bee, which is kind of coincidental that you, Lala, kind of expressed how it looked like sounded like a beehive. So it was.
Whoa.
There's several degrees negative C outside, so it's not bees.
No, it wouldn't be bees in that cold.
This happens all the time while we're on these videos.
That was a message from them.
Yeah.
Definitely. Dude, that was cool. Huh,
Oh, for real? Oh man, we're gonna have to like stamp this time and then really blow it up.
Yeah.
We're happy to come back. So just whenever you're ready.
Well, definitely, because obviously, I don't know, maybe there's more to this collaboration sort of thing where we're all chatting that could reach somebody that needs to be reached. I don't know. I mean, that's the whole point of these things. You just never know who's going to be watching and what they're going to gather from it. I mean, like I said, just speaking with you guys, your story, Lala, blows me away. And Bob, your story, I'm like, shit, should we even be sharing this? But I'm thinking to myself, if you've been sort of silenced the way you have, is it because you know something that they're scared you're going to say, or is it just because you're talking about things?
Because I'm talking about things they don't want me to talk about. And I never worked in this area, so I never signed a non-disclosure agreement about the things I've seen. And they're probably pretty upset that I went on the disclosure deal with Vinny. Vinny was the first person I went on with and told about my encounters on ships, and they can't be happy.
Well, I don't know why they can't just let that go, considering you've got all this footage from the cameras of the planes up there in the ships, you know what I mean? The Nimitz and all that sort of stuff. So the fact that it happens around ships out at sea is it's a moot point as far as anything you would have to say, unless it was something really important that they don't want getting out, which means...
So if what I did on these ships, I will never tell.
That's fair enough.
They would arrest me and put me in jail.
We don't want that.
Never telling them.
We don't want that.
Enough said. I actually know somebody that used to be part of the Navy, and during their, I guess you could say, their travels within the the nighttime dark sea where everything is just pitch black, they I've been told of certain experiences that they've had, and it's just unbelievable, like some with purple lights. And
I think everyone that goes out on these Navy vessels has these experiences. Everyone.
Don't doubt it. Anyway, I think that's a good place to end it. So do you guys want to have a couple of little words to say right at the end, and then we'll just move out, and we'll have you guys back real soon because there's so much more that we have to talk about.
Go ahead.
If anybody wanted to get a reading, our website is www.lalabright llc.com. If someone needs to talk about what they've experienced and are too shy or whatever, you can talk to us on Facebook. We'll listen and help as we can.
Yep, and I'm Bob McGwier _N4HY on Twitter and Bob McGwier on Facebook, and we're easy to talk to.
Well, that's very
for sure.
easy.
That's
yeah.
for sure.
And interesting.
I just want to keep on going. Like, forget this 45 minutes hour, and we just
Hey, let me just let me just tell you how impressed we are. I have a plate with bacon and everything sitting out there, and it's all gone cold now because I'm in here just riveted.
Yeah, I hear the timer going off on my dinner, so
And
I'll cut you off.
It sounds like a good time to leave it for now, and we will talk to you guys again real soon, and hopefully you guys will both come back and we'll have some more stories to add to what we've already talked about.
Yeah, it'll be good.
We got plenty.
We got plenty.
All right, take it easy, guys. Thank you very much. See you.
Happy to do it.
Thank you.